Hi there. Welcome to Immune Matters, the podcast sponsored by the PIDTC, where we delve into immune deficiency and immune dysregulation. I'm Dr. Jack McDonald, a pediatric immunologist at Cleveland Clinic.
Dr. Elie, an immunologist, physician scientist at CHU Saint-Justine in Montreal. We both care a lot about rare immune conditions and the people living with them. And in this podcast, we are excited to bring you the latest groundbreaking research and insights from the field.
Another major goal of ours is to really highlight the patient experience. So we're going to feature several episodes that center on the patient's voice and explore immune disease from their perspective. And just for a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not medical advice, and the views expressed here don't necessarily reflect that of the PIDTC, the NIH, or our specific institutions.
Whether you're a provider, a patient, or just curious about the immune systems, we're glad to have you here. And now let's get started. And today we're going to speak about the Chiron platform. And it's important to mention for those who are just listeners that it's going to be very visual. So we advise you to look at the podcast instead of just listening to it. Hello, guys. Hi, everybody. We are very excited to welcome our two guests of today, Dr. Rebecca Marsh and Dr. Dani Arnold. Please, can you guys introduce yourself?
Yes.
Rebecca?
So I'm Rebecca Marsh. I'm an immunologist and a bone marrow transplant at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, heavily involved in the PIDTC this last several years. And I'm so excited to be on the 4th episode of the PIDTC podcast. Thank you for having us.
Dani?
And I'm Dani Arnold. I am a stem cell transplant physician with the National Cancer Institute at the NIH. I've also been involved with PIDTC for some time, specifically as one of the leads of the CGD protocol.
And this
Thank
has
you
been
both.
recorded. And this has been recorded at the moment where you are allowed to work, correct? Dani?
I am allowed to work right now. I'm not doing this illegally on the side.
This is
That's very
important to
make
establish.
this decision. Exactly.
Danny, how long are you allowed to work now, do you think? Until January 30th or beyond?
Well, that remains to be seen. I'm hoping beyond January 30th, but that is out of my hands.
Yeah. Well, thank you
see.
both for coming. I think we're excited to talk today about the Chiron interface through the PIDTC and through the Network for Rare Diseases, right? So can you guys tell us a little bit about that? And I think Rebecca was going to even do a demo.
Yeah, no, Danny and I are super excited to share a little information about Chiron. So Chiron is a data interaction tool that investigators at the University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Children's Hospital actually created some years ago in order to meet a need for consortia like ours and individual investigators to be able to interact with their data on a easy basis instead of having to wade through REDCap or Excel spreadsheets or SAS files and this type of thing. And so it's really a great tool for people like us in order to see what data we actually have easily. It's really useful for doing things like feasibility. How many patients do we have with X disorder and X complication? Are there enough patients to study? It also allows people to download data to actually work with online if they would like to. So yeah, if you'd like, Danny and I are happy to give you a little demo today.
Let's see it. This sounds cool.
All right, here we go.
We can't wait.
Let me just share my screen. I know this is the most exciting thing that you guys have both done this whole week so far.
This
Particularly since you said that we are not capable of reading Excel or REDCap or whatever.
Yeah, well, anything to make life easier,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So basically, this is when you go into the Chiron interface. This is what the home page will look like. And what you can do is we have a couple different options to be able to look at the data and sort the data. So you can start with a simple query, and even people, Danny's much better at Chiron than I am, but even people like me that are very simple can go in and simply look at the left-hand side of options for categories of data. So for instance, if we wanted to look at SCID patients and maybe we want to know what kind of genetic disorder SCID patients have, we can actually just click the SCID gene button, and then you're very quickly able to see that there are 289 patients with IL-2RG, 96 patients with RAG1, etc. down the list. Chiron will do some intuitive sorting of data for you. And so here you can see that it's just, largest to smallest tabling of disorders. Other things that people are often interested are, for instance, maybe you want to see what kind of conditioning regimen patients have had. And so if someone was interested to look at a study comparing maybe Rick versus Mac, for instance, you could go in and very easily see how many patients were conditioned with Rick and Mac. And so there are lots of options here. Are there any things that you would maybe like to look at?
Well, just for me, do you mind, Rebecca, just telling me, like, where is the data? Like, where is it coming from? Not someone's not entering all these things individually, or is that happening? What's going on?
No, this data is actually uploaded from flat files that Brent actually supplies. So many of you know Brent, who's our statistician for all the PIDTC studies, and he and his statistical team actually create files of data that they export from REDCap that are then uploaded into Chiron. So it's data from PIDTC that's already been entered into REDCap, just put into an interface where we can sort of easily look at it and interact with it.
Really cool.
Other fun things, so you can go to this aggregate tab here. And what this aggregate tab lets you do is actually create sort of 2x2 tables, or you can put more variables in, but this is also really good for initial feasibility things. And so if we wanted to maybe look at some information about, let's say, donor chimerism, we could look at myeloid donor chimerism. And Ellie, you and Jen has such a beautiful paper looking at chimerism and conditioning. What we can do is maybe just go in and look at this data set. And there's our chimerism. So this is the number of patients that have 0 to 9% myeloid donor chimerism. 59 patients have 10 to 19%, all the way up to patients that are 100 have 139. And you can see sometimes Chiron will do little funny things like do this next 10, even though obviously this is just 100%. You can't have more than 100% donor chimerism. And then what we can do for our column headings is we can come here and we can pick conditioning regimens. So we just go back to the transplant information, go to conditioning regimen intensity. We'll update that. And it will basically show us very quickly that if you've had no conditioning, that's what CR stands for, there are quite a few patients here that have very low levels of donor myeloid chimerism. Whereas if you've had fully myeloablative conditioning, this number is much higher that have really good, robust donor myeloid chimerism.
And I'm guessing you can use that filter and you can look at different disorders and the chimerism for each specific one. That's
You
pretty
can. So if we go
cool.
back, and I find that the query works a little better for sorting information. So let's say maybe we want to look at a specific genetic disorder. So what we can do is go to SCID info. Dani, what genes should we look at?
Let's do IL-2RG, X-linked SCID right at the top.
Classic.
All right,
Classic.
The classic, yeah.
Well, we'll have patients, right?
We
So
will
And
we
there
can,
are a lot of patients.
yeah, so we can basically select that and we can apply that new filter. And then it helps if you just say, click this little button up here, show data only for active cohort. And I like to do that just to make sure we really have now just sorted on that. And you can also keep track of the subject count up here in the right-hand corner. And so
And
now
you can apply multiple filters, right, Rebecca?
you can put a lot of filters in here. So you could maybe you want to only look at IL-2RG patients that, I don't know, received a certain
Mismatch
donor type,
transplant.
something like that.
Yeah.
So we could go in and do donor type here. And so
Mhm.
now we're looking at data just for those X-linked SCID patients. And so this is the breakdown of
Yeah.
donor
Let's
types.
remove
Right.
let's remove the identical sibling. So you take all the others.
So
It says you can exclude filter at the top.
Yeah.
Do you want to try
yeah.
that?
Tech
Exclude
edge.
filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
I am not, let's see. Yeah, I think that's not what that does actually.
That's okay. We
Let's
know
do
there's a
th-
way to do it.
let's do this.
But
Oh, see, I am not doing something. There's something I'm not doing right, guys.
It's okay.
You're getting too complicated for me.
Yeah. And you're
yeah, so
also
it
on the
was it
Oh,
spot.
wait,
was
actually, here. Somehow now we have 24 entries for HLA identical sibling.
because it's written exclude filter, so you
Yeah.
excluded all the others.
No, you're right. I did. You're right
Yeah.
the first time.
Yeah.
We led you the wrong path. We led you down
No,
the wrong
you
path.
didn't. But you can see it's really easy now. Now you can just clear this all, and now you can just go
Yes.
back and redo it
Sometimes
all.
in research, you just got to clear it and start
Yeah.
over.
That's right. That's right. So
So it sounds like investigators could really use this as a tool to at least explore the data that's out there and say, like, okay, could I even write a paper on XYZ? Are there enough patients to make a
Yeah.
reasonable?
And I ask a
Yeah.
question, and for the chimerism, for example, it was at any date, or there was a specificity of post-transplant, like 1 year post-transplant or 2 months of 6 months post-transplant. Do we
yeah,
have
so
this
there are.
information?
You do have to be careful about that in this data set. And so there's some helpful little fields that help you understand what the fields actually are. So chimerism is one of them because obviously you'll have multiple entries over multiple time. And so what you'll see sometimes that there will be, do you see how this says 505 entries for 505 subjects? What you
Mhm.
will sometimes see, for instance, is that there will be multiple entries for multiple patients. And this is showing in a graph right now. But if this were by results, you would see multiple entries. Another thing to be aware of is that things like survival data and then also the graft versus host disease information, these are survival times and events. And so to look at the survival information, you need to keep that in mind because this is basically entries at follow-up times through a patient's lifetime on the study. And so for these 981 subjects, they have this many survival time points. And so when you're in the data, there's some little clues to help you do that. And one feature that Chiron does have that's nice is once you get into a data set, you can actually download the data into a CSV file, which is really nice.
Mhm.
So there'll be this download CSV file button that you can push and download the data to work with online. So if you were, for instance, for a grant, if you were going to put this kind of information into a grant, you can just download this as a table and you can throw this into your grant or whatever you're working on.
Is there any
Yeah,
ability to do graphs? I mean, I don't know much about Chiron. Is there that ability to export in a graphical format, or is it just mostly focused on the numbers?
It's mostly focused on the numbers. You will see some graphs going through things, but it's mostly with the numbers.
Awesome.
I think we've been talking about using this kind of for research and, grant applications, but I think also my hope would be that people can use this clinically. So if they have a patient with a specific type of skid, and I know this data has been published, but papers don't always present the data the way that you maybe want or answering the question that you specifically have. So they can come into Chiron and look up that specific data for that genetic defect and what type of transplant you're hoping to do. So I think hopefully people will find this helpful on a clinical basis as well.
Yeah.
So, like, if a patient comes in and sees you and says, "Well, hey, doc, you're planning to do this kind of transplant on my kid. Can you tell me what the transplant experience is?" You could really
Right.
drill down on that.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. And this is an example just of some of the graphs that you can create within Chiron, but these don't export very well. You can snip them, with the snipping tool. So you can very easily snip things like this and then drop them into a publication figure or, for a talk, put them into a slide deck, this kind of thing.
Yep.
And I did see that for the statistical nerds out there, of which I am one, that you can take some of these results and put them into SAS files or export it. I think R, Jupyter, Python kind of pipeline for that. So that's another cool feature of this, I think.
Yeah. And since you have a CSV file, that CSV file can upload basically into anything.
Anywhere. Yeah. I could see this being very useful for research and patient care.
Yeah.
How have you guys used this kind of platform yourselves?
We have pulled some data for someone in PIDTC had a question about a very rare form of SCID, 3D CD3, I think Zeta. I would have to go back. It's Kristen Evans that had a question, so we went and pulled that information out for her. Only 1 or 2 patients that we had, but we pulled that up for her. We've pulled information out basically to support grant proposals and collaborative projects with other consortia, just looking at how many patients we have to contribute, this sort of thing so far. Dani, what about you? Other things?
Um, yeah, I think the other thing to point out is that you're showing the SCID database here right now, but the CGD and WSCOT data will also be uploaded sometime in the near future, correct?
Yeah, so hopefully
Yeah.
by second quarter of 2026, we'll have both the CGD and WSCOT data sets in here to play with.
Yeah.
And tell us who has access to those data and to the entry into Chiron and how to
Yeah.
connect.
No, that's a
Mhm.
great question, Ellie.
Yeah.
So we're actually working on that right now. So this access will be given to all of the PIDTC investigators at the core sites. So we actually have a list put together and we're confirming a few additions that they are on site delegation logs. And once that's done, probably in January 2026, we'll be able to provide access to everybody so that everyone can go in and have the data that they need to do their research and take care of their patients.
That's amazing. And of course, for our patients to understand, there's no patient level information in here that someone can download. This is all, yeah.
Yep. There's no PHI anywhere in the data set, so there's no need
What
to
is
worry about
PHI
that.
if parents are listening or patients are listening to us? What is PHI?
Yeah, it's protected health information. So things
Mhm.
like names, dates of birth, that kind of information. And there is a public access ability to also access Chiron data. It's very limited to just 10 or 12 variables, but actually anyone in the general public can register for a login.gov login and password. And once they have that, they will actually also be able to go in through the PIDTC.org website and be able to log into Chiron to see some of the data.
And then Rebecca, this is the legacy database that we're talking about here, but are there plans to include data from the new protocols in the future?
Yes, we would love to be able to do that in the future because obviously that in real time, if Chiron's communicating with data that's being entered live,
Yeah.
on a monthly basis with monthly uploads and updates to the database, that would be even more powerful because it will let us see in real time what our data
Right.
is and help us, pull pieces of information that right now we're very dependent on Brent and his statistics team, and they work really hard for us. That'll be very practical and helpful for them, for us to be able to directly access the data. So we would love to do that in the future after this work is done.
Yes.
It's a great question.
Especially with the new PIRD protocol, there'll be additional diseases that have information in Chiron.
Yes. Yes.
So.
And
So
lots
what I
of
hear you
different
saying
versions.
is it's mostly SCID now, but there's plans to include primary immune regulatory defects and Wisk Aldrich and other diseases that our patients
And
have.
suggest-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Rebecca,
lots coming.
can you show us again? Let's say, for example, I want to know how many patients with SCID, gamma C SCID, HLA identical, got a conditioning regimen containing MAC. I can
Yeah.
have this information very fast. Can you show me? Because
You
we
can.
messed
And
up
yeah.
He's making you
You
prove
just
your
see if I can do it for you. So, and actually what I'm going to actually do too is just go out of Chiron just to show people how to get there. So
Yeah.
everyone in PIDTC should have access to the Rare Diseases Clinical Research Network page. And so if you go to the RDCRN and you log in.
Now, Rebecca, real quick, we can't see anything at the moment. Just so you know.
Shoot.
Oh yeah, are you sharing?
I am. It's because
I
I
think
got
it
out
might
of
have
that
just been
tab.
sharing that exact tab.
Yeah. It did make me select a tab, so I have to select another tab. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is where you come. You're going to log in. Now, I don't know if another tab pops up. If not, it's going to go away again. Can you still see it?
We can still see it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you basically just come to the RDCRN website. You'll have to use your two-factor, authentication, et cetera.
No, I
You
don't
just
see.
come to the tools that are available here, and this is where
Oh, yeah.
Chiron is included. And so you
I
simply
think we might
launch
have
it.
lost you.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
progressing?
You're
I
tab
am.
hopping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tab hopping.
All right.
It's not your fault. It's a limitation of our podcasting software here.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There
Does
we
this
go.
go
We can
now?
see it. Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Well, anyway, there's a tools page on the RDCRN webpage. You just click the tools, and then Chiron's there. So you click the Chiron button, and then you get to the Chiron. So this is where you go. And then I'll probably have to share again because now we're going to view the data set. Did it stay there for you?
Yep. We
It's
see
We're in the data set. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
We're
good.
in the
Okay, good.
data set,
All
it's
right. So
901.
Ellie. All right. So let's do.
And there are some like how-to guidelines as well, right?
There
Through
are
RDCRN
a
paper.
few.
So
Yep.
yeah.
There's a few helpful documents also on the website.
So
So
gamma
here's
C,
IL2RG. So
apply.
I'm going to apply new filter. I'm going to say show cohort for active cohort only. Let's go to donor type.
Yeah.
All right. Which one did you want?
Yes,
Sibling?
HLA identical, yes.
Apply new filter. Let's unclick this and click it again and just make sure that we've applied both filters. So there's our filters. So now we've got only 24 subjects. And then what else did you want to look at, Ellie?
The conditioning regimen
Conditioning regimen.
with MAC. Auric.
To say there probably wouldn't be very many max. Or...
We have it. 4 to 18. Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down? Yeah. There it
No,
will be
that's
20.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
that's it.
Mac. Which makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Which makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also
Okay.
look, there is this other grouping that we included in the data set, just if you want to get into more of the weeds about like what actual regimen was given. So this is also here. And then if you want to clear all, you can go back and see how that compares for everybody. So if you go back to conditioning regimen
Yeah.
intensity for the whole cohort.
Oh,
Actually,
that's perfect.
232 with Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And just for our listeners who might not know, what's MAC again?
It's myeloablative conditioning. So high dose busulfan,
Okay.
typically.
This is very cool. I think it's a very interesting and important tool because once you begin to play with it, you can have access to tons
Yeah.
of information, either to do research or if you're asking yourself questions about your patient, just to compare how many other patients had exactly the same situation. Usually,
Yeah.
if you're asking yourself a question, it's because it's not frequent, so it will be easy to take it down. So it's the concept is very, very interesting, and
Yeah.
In addition to survival, what are some of the other kind of transplant outcomes that we can look at through Chiron? And you just scroll down, but
Yeah. No,
I'm
here.
assuming graft versus host disease, survival, donor chimerism.
Things are broken up because again, with
Mhm.
the survival and GVH, because it's time to event data,
Right.
you do want to pay attention to, are you looking at time or are you looking at the event? So for instance, for GVHD time, it's going to graph it this way, but you can also, you get the report or the results, then it'll give you, you can even get patient level row by row data. You can download
Mhm.
that if you want. For events for graft versus host disease, sometimes it's helpful just to look at the event and you can sort of gauge like, so 202 patients and the set didn't have, 95 did, that sort of information. We've got donor chimerism that's broken down by typical kind of information. So here you can see nice spread of myeloid chimerism versus T cells, as you would expect. You're going to see most patients have predominant T cell populations. We do have some information about second transplants and boosts. Again, these are event time data. And so you just need to be aware of that when you're looking at it. And when you download it, that's what you're looking at to be able to create cumulative incidence curves and that type of analysis. Got some immune reconstitution. This data, you need to be aware that it's multiple over time. And so, for instance, this has 983 subjects, but there's 3,139 entries. And so there's that many entries because there are multiple time points of the data. We've got a little bit of growth information.
And can you
PTLD,
interrogate at a specific
survival.
time point? For example, B cell reconstitution at 1 year. We have access to that or not yet?
So you do, when you download the data set, when you're
Okay.
looking at it in Chiron, there's no way to do this.
Okay.
The Chiron team has this on their agenda to create because this is something that for consortia that follow patients long term, this is obviously a very powerful thing to be able to visualize at those time points. And so in the future, hopefully that's something that is implemented. And I think that's most of there's also, if you want to look at skid type, for instance, typical leaky omen, there's this type of information. Some of the complication information is here, like CMV infection, reason for skid diagnosis, so infections, family history, newborn screening, this type of information as well. So that's a little tour of Chiron. I hope that people find it useful. Dani and I are really excited to unveil it, probably in January for everyone in the consortia. So feel
How long
free,
have you
anyone
guys been
listening, to
working
reach
on it?
out. Say
You've
again?
been working on it's been a while, right? I mean, this is a lot of work went into this, I can tell.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of work. It's actually not very much work for our Cincinnati friends because they're very skilled at this. It's more wrangling us of what to include and how to include it. So
Right. That seems like a very valuable tool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Let's stop
Exciting.
sharing.
Yeah. Well, it's one of many exciting things that's going on at the PIDTC, right? Any other things you guys want to share? Let our listeners know up and coming with the PIDTC. Not to put anyone on the spot.
Well, there is annual meeting planning. So
Okay.
annual meeting. Mike
Meeting, yes.
Pulsifer is working really hard planning the meeting for Salt Lake City this year. So we're super excited about that. Abstract deadline is January 8th, Ellie? Is that right?
6 or 8.
6th? It might be January 6th. So that's coming up. So we hope we get a lot of good abstracts.
January. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
January 6th.
January
Hopefully
6th.
all our NIH friends can come this year. So fingers
Well,
crossed.
yes, we'll see. We'll see. Fingers
By the
crossed.
way-
It's in March, right? So hopefully by then,
Yeah.
we figured things out.
Yeah.
It'll
Maybe.
be fine.
Well, we certainly hope to see you there, Dani.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Dani, your plants are looking really nice.
Yeah, those are very healthy looking
Thank you.
plants.
Thank you. My motivation to come to work. Have to water my plants.
Don't let them die.
Well, thank you both so much, for sharing this with us. And this is exciting, having the kind of technology where we can leverage all this data from different centers for patients in a way that respects patient privacy, but enables clinicians at the bedside to show stuff to their patients that informs their care, but also to do really quality research, which helps everyone. It's really cool. Thank you both for sharing that with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Good to see
yes,
you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you were great guests. Thank you.
Yes, great guest.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for today's episode of Immune Matters. A huge thank you to Dani and Rebecca for sharing a little bit with us about the Chiron interface. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with anyone who might benefit, patients, colleagues, or friends. And as always, you can learn more about the PIDTC and find additional resources at pidtc.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The Primary Immune Deficiency Treatment Consortium, PIDTC, is a part of the Rare Diseases Clinical Research Network of the Office of Rare Diseases Research, ORDR, National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, NCATS, National Institutes of Health, NIH. This work was supported by the Division of Allergy, Immunology, and Transplantation, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, DAIT, NIAID, and the ORDR under cooperative agreements U54AI082973 and U54-NS064808 and grants R13-AI094943 and 1R24AI184316-01. The content and opinions expressed are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not represent the official policy or position of the NIAID, ORDR, NCATS, NIH, HRSA, or any other agency of the U.S. government.